I'm Lola.
And I'm Mamuna. Together, we've a combined 35 years of experience within the tech scene in North America and Europe.
We talk about the highs, the lows, the WTFs of navigating the technology industry and answer your questions about navigating tech careers.
This is Lost in Tech.
I think that the theme of moving countries this time around for me, which is nowadays, as an adult, my second time in my whole life, probably my fifth or my sixth, is humility and patience. So I have been driving for 22 years. I passed my driving test first time out the gate. I was one of those people. I got a car like a month later. I have not looked back since. I can jump in any car, any side of the road. I pride myself on that hustle. And then I moved to this great nation that I'm in now. And we get, first of all, stuck in this interesting bureaucratic mess of, oh, you're British, but you have a Canadian license. Oh, yeah, no, we don't like those things. So we're not going to just give you one of our licenses. Now, if I was British with a British license, I would just say, here's my old license. They would give me one of theirs. If I was Canadian with a Canadian license,
Sure.
I'd say, here's my license. But being British with a Canadian license,
No.
So I was like very distressed, and I was like, it's fine, because this is easy. So I was like, fine, I'll just do a driving test. Like, I've been driving for 22 years. Don't you know who I am? Failed the driving test.
It's very different in other countries.
It was different enough.
Is this a country that accepts money?
No, they do it right. You better pass the test, right?
Okay.
Now they will take your money in that they want you to pay for lessons. They don't care if you can drive.
That's not the money I'm talking about.
And they give you optionality in vehicles. So the first time I did this test, I did it in I'm going to sound bougie as hell, but let's just be real with it. I did it in a Mitsubishi of some description. It's like a small sedan-like car, and it does not have power steering, but it is an automatic. Mamuna, the way I couldn't turn this car, so like I failed on things like positioning, because like I'm supposed to be over here and I'm here, and I'm like, that's the best I got in this vehicle. Or like turning into a dual carriageway. I was like, okay, normally you find a gap, it's a busy road, you find a gap and you floor it and you get out safely. I floored it and this car did not move. I was like, oh, wow. So there were a lot of mistakes that I failed on. So the way you apply money is you pay for what they call VIP. And so you pay for special lessons, i.e. whatever schedule you want to be on, they'll give it to you. And you get a different set of cars, like a Mini Cooper or a BMW X5 or a Porsche Cayenne. And like, so this is how we throw money at it. So I have taken lessons and I'm now about to do my test. But the fascinating thing is like the driving instructors basically spent the entire time training me out of every bad habit I have collected in the last 20 years. And again, because I've had so many cars and I used to use car sharing services, so I pick up a different car when I needed one.
Sure.
I assumed I didn't have that many bad habits because I always had to go through like the foundations to get used to a new car. I was braking wrong, accelerating wrong, indicating wrong, checking my mirrors wrong, steering wrong. It was all like 100 million little cuts. And so anyway, I've had to do that. And now I'm finally doing my test, which is only 10 to 15 minutes out here.
Gosh.
So after all of that, I may now have a driving license this week, which will also help with settling in feeling, because I will be able to get myself from A to B without worrying about traffic. But I've been e-scooting. That's been interesting. Oh, yeah. I joined the e-scooter family. I got one, using it to take the kids to school with our family, with like our helmets and the train of scooters with the little hook for her school bag.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. You know.
Survival.
You know, survival.
We're making it. I like it. I like all these things.
Humility is the lesson of the year. And these things remind you to be grateful for the little things, because when the comforts feel like they're not really there, you just you make the most of it. And so there's been no car, so isn't it amazing that I can afford taxis? And oh look, I've got an e-scooter, and all I have to do is remember to charge it every now and then.
Yeah,
Make it work.
I like it. I like all these things.
Yeah.
The countries that I got, not all, most of the countries I've driven in, take money. And so I did
Yeah.
have a license, and I
Yeah.
remember I took my first driver's like lessons in a car that had no floor. I think I told you this, like there was no floor. And so when you brake, I remember I was with my mom or my dad, and they like dropped me off, and they're like, "Okay, have fun with the lessons." And we both like walk up to the car. It was a Kijang, which is like a Toyota 4x4, but like a smaller version, more compact.
Yeah.
And there was no floor, so if you brake, the brakes can hit the ground and spark
Oh
up. It was the
my
most.
God.
And then I had an instructor that had a stick,
Just like slam it on the steering
and
wheel.
he
It's
would
like,
hit
what are
my
you
leg, and I would,
doing?
yeah,
Fix it.
I get my clutch wrong, whatever. Oh man,
Oh my
so many life
gosh.
experiences. Yeah, but
I
I definitely
think
picked up some bad habits
well, so
in
this
some
is the thing.
countries.
I think everything that I thought about my ability to drive in any country, in any car, the opposite was actually true, right? I think I assumed I'd maintain good habits because I had to reinforce my safety. And like whenever we go on holiday, we rent a car, and I'm thinking, oh, I've got my family, I've got to be safe.
Oh, I'm
Actually,
not
what I
safe.
did was I picked up every bad habit you can
Yep,
imagine, doing all sorts. And
yep.
even like as the instructor's telling me, it's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, actually, I
Why
don't know
not?
why I'm doing it. Just
Yep.
I just got used to doing this.
You pick the survival habits.
I this now isn't that a word, Mamuna? Can we just survival
Habits.
habits?
It's real. Those are real.
So can we go on to that actually for a second?
Sure.
Because I
Sure.
feel like you've just given me a phrase. I had some great
For where you
feedback from a
are.
colleague. No, honestly, I had some great feedback from a colleague this week, and she identified in a meeting where I was remote and everyone else was physically present. She said to me, "I'm checking in because I feel like I saw some stuff. And when I see that stuff, because I know you, I know that you're maybe not okay. So I'm just checking in." And I was kind of like, oh, I'm so grateful because, whatever. But then when you dig into what the stuff was, it was basically like fight. Like I was definitely having a hard day and I was having a hard time. But my survival habit is I will fight you. I will, it's a fight. Like
Ah,
the thing becomes, it's like it clicks in, it's like defense.
yep, yep,
And
yep.
so everything becomes combative and potentially like I'm holding my ground because I don't feel comfortable with the situation. And it occurred to me that it took a very compassionate person in the room to know that that wasn't my intent
You.
and to understand. I mean, it was me. Like this is I
Sure.
actually think it's a habit, but that she understood it was a trigger that was activated as opposed to everything was like an actual issue. And I think probably everyone else in the room just reacted to my reaction, and it wasn't a
She named
fun
the
meeting.
behavior.
Yeah, the behavior was what they reacted to. And so I was just kind of like, afterwards, I was just like, oh, this is so disappointing and whatever else. But she called it out. And I think that concept of survival habits, we're probably doing that all day, every day in a bunch of workplace situations, thinking that we're just in control and we're managing the situation and we're dealing with it and we've got the cut through. But it's a survival habit that maybe isn't the best way
Oh,
to get out the best out
I
of
know
that
mine.
situation. Oh, go
Yes.
on. What's yours?
It's control. So
Okay.
if if things are like if I'm at a point where I'm like everything feels disorganized, messy, whatever, I try to implement like something structure.
Yeah.
to help myself feel like it's not as bad or as
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And it can be that I'm trying to do it in a place that does not need it, but in
Yeah.
my mind
Ooh, you
to
got to get it in
feel
there.
I have to
Yeah.
figure it out, and
Yeah.
that can cause issues. I'm
Yeah.
aware that I do it now, and I
Do you
try
feel like you're
to
aware in the moment or do you become aware
sometimes.
afterwards? Okay, that's good.
So, coach has given me
Yeah.
words that I use
Okay.
when I'm in this mode.
Right.
And I know when I only use only for the times that I realize I only use that word in that mode. And
Yeah.
so I can tell when I'm either approaching it or I'm in it.
In it.
And I immediately now pause. I'm like, wait,
Yes.
what am I
Yes.
doing and why?
Yeah.
And this has been saving me.
Yeah.
Most people don't know I'm in it,
Yeah.
you know,
Like you feel
but
it more.
yeah.
Yeah.
But since I've had that awareness, it has saved me because oftentimes it turns into just a series of unnecessary actions, like things, right? And
Yep.
I can cut it off
Yeah.
earlier,
At the source.
which is just a huge time savings for myself and probably everyone else in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I think I may have spoken about it previously in an episode, but that idea of understanding what is at the beginning, like coach
Hmm.
has worked with me as well. And it's like, okay, there are times when I will have a strong sense of something being stuck in my
Oh,
throat. And I know that that sensation is going to bring out the kind of the anger and the fighter. And sometimes I'll have that feeling of like my stomach's gurgling a little bit. And that's going to bring out the more mindful, intentional, the alchemist, as we call it. And I find that when I have high emotional resilience, I am not like living in an empty house and I feel like I have my routine and my schedule is whatever. I can identify that feeling really early as well. Like I can start to feel like, okay, I'm feeling like
yeah.
I need to swallow, I need to drink, and oh,
Yeah.
the fighter might be coming out of me. But when that emotional resilience is low, which
Mm,
happens because
yep.
life,
Yep.
then you can't you miss it. You miss the signs, and it's not until
Yeah.
you're in it that you
You're in
kind of
it.
like, oh. And it is. I know that the fighter is a survival habit. That it is just
Hmm.
she's gonna come out. She's gonna defend the heck out of my emotional state because I'll be damned if you see me cry, and I'll be damned
Right.
if you see me wobble. And I will scratch your eyes out and I'll poke you in the eye first because any
You'll
of those
cry
things happen.
first.
But the implications, exactly as you said, the implications, and then you spend days dealing with the repercussions of, well,
Yes.
that wasn't quite what I meant. And okay, now I've got this extra thing I need to handle. And then there's the other thing
Yep.
over here. And then you're just like, ugh. We could
Yep.
have saved all of this if we
Could
had
have
just
saved.
realized what was coming through and in the moment shifted and adjusted response, just like driving.
Yeah.
It literally
Oh, full
is. The
circle.
metaphor fits.
Full circle. The thing that my coach told me was that we have this awareness now. We've been working on it for,
Yeah.
months, years, whatever it is, but the habits have formed over
Yes.
years.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
it's going to take a long
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
as she tells me, give yourself grace.
Yes. A
Give
hundred
yourself
percent.
grace. Yep.
A
We're
hundred
all
percent.
learning.
There's another key lesson that I find myself revisiting in this time of humility through coaching that I've learned,
Mm,
which is the idea of when your ego is the
mm,
thing that is actually presenting, but it looks like it's not ego, right? So,
mhm.
a good example of that, and something I continue to work on, is like, I'm just so busy. I've just got so many things going on, and I'm this and I'm that, and it's all this, that, and the other. And you lead with that in conversations, and you almost virtue signal how busy you are. And when you unpick it, or when I have unpicked it, let me stay in my eye.
Uh-huh.
When I have unpicked it, it's often been like, I don't want people to forget that I might be important to them, or I need them to see how much I'm doing. I need them to appreciate it. And when it's described to me in that way, I'm like, oh, that's so gross. That's like,
It's
what?
uh-huh. False
And I'm just
ego.
like, the false ego has hit
False
again, and
ego. Yeah.
we gotta work and rest that girl out. And you have to, again, in that work situation, same thing. You are busy. You do have a lot on your calendar. But when someone says to you, "Can I have X time? Can you find a slot?" Instead of saying, "Gosh, there's just
It's
so
so
much
busy.
going on," the response is, "You know what? Let's talk about this. Let me see how we can prioritize what you need or why I." And it's subtle reframe. One optimizes for the false ego, which also makes you feel overwhelmed, exasperated, you feel stressed by it. The other just says everything can be reprioritized and it's fine. Same like outcome, very, very different feel. And again, false ego, when you're at low emotional resilience and things are not in the place, false ego is so loud, it's so
So
vibrant, it's so
loud.
easy to reach for and be like, me, and I.
Yeah.
And
It's
damn it, no one's
real.
listening to me.
Nobody's listening. I will tell you, I sound like a crazy person, but over the past like couple of weeks, me and false ego have been talking.
Yeah.
And it because she's loud and she wants
Yeah.
what she wants.
She's
And
the
she wants to
loudest
be
part of
seen.
us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seen,
Yeah.
heard, wants to be acted upon.
Yeah.
And I never realized how many of my decisions, how I prioritize, how I just move generally has been due to false ego. And as
Yeah.
I've broken down the needs of
Yeah.
my false ego
Yeah.
and what is prioritizing, I've realized that in a lot of cases, it's to my detriment, even though
Yes.
I'm not seeing it as such. And this is little things. This comes down to like how much work I'm taking on.
Oh,
In my
100%.
mind, I'm like, oh yeah, if I'm burning the candle at both ends, then I'm busy and I'm important and that's great. Which
Yes.
is not how I actually think.
Feel.
But yeah, but
Yeah.
when you take time, when I take the time to break it down,
Yeah.
that's what it's actually tied to. And so more and
Absolutely.
more I've been trying to balance my time and say, okay, do I really actually have to do this? Do I need to burn the candle at both ends? Is it
Yeah.
something that I enjoy doing? Is there something
Yeah.
that's more fulfilling on another end?
Yeah.
And that journey or that shift has been so interesting because my default
Yes.
is to carry 20 plates
Yes.
and run with my eyes
Yeah.
closed. And they each
With
have
the
a sharp knife on
idea
them.
that only you can do it as well. No one
Yes.
else
Yes.
can. And if you don't do it, the world will end.
Falls apart. Falls apart. Everyone's going to die.
Everyone's going to die. It's catastrophic. And it's all false ego. That's my journey. That's the, and
It's
I
everyone's
feel like
journey if they
it's
realize it or
everyone's
not.
journey. But this is the thing. And I feel like the point of recognition for me was for so many years, especially again, you kind of in this common space, you're the unexpected, you have accomplished, you're finding yourself in places where you're not reinforced by you. You are always having to stand your card and represent you. And so the false ego elements really do kind of help. They kind of give you fuel to be like, okay, well, I need to hold my ground. I need to stand and be here and do
Sure.
these things. And it's not until you start identifying the detriments on you, like why you seem to take on too much work, why you seem to think that somehow being sacrificial to other people is what is expected of you. And then when you are overwhelmed by that sacrifice, the guilt and the
Yep.
disappointment that you heap on yourself, you blame situations, and it's very hard to be like, but you did it to yourself.
So,
And then you're
Yep.
like, how dare you? Don't you know what I do and why and
I'm
blah?
too
And it's
busy and too many
the pulling
things.
apart of those feelings. I would imagine it's like trying to grow a new lip. It's like
Yeah.
literally recognizing that you can be in the same situation with the same outcome. And there's a version where your false ego is in control, and there's a version that isn't. And the version that
Yes.
isn't will always serve you better.
Better.
It will always allow you to prioritize more effectively. It makes you a better leader, makes you a better family member, a better partner. It helps you sleep, it lets you rest. It honestly, it protects you from the right place where
Yeah.
the false ego pulls you towards the way you want to be, but it almost always comes with heavy, heavy cost. And that's the
The
knowledge, man. That's a mind
Yeah,
exploding
it's a mind
moment.
exploding. And I think one of the ways I learned that you can know if you're operating in false egos when you use the word
Yeah,
should.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
should. Should is the word. Because what happens is you're like, oh, I should take that job. I should take on this work. I should. And then you ask yourself, well, why should I? What
Yes,
happens if I don't do it?
yes,
What
yes,
happens if I take the rest? What if I
yes.
go for the walk? What if I
Yeah.
don't take the job? Like, what
Whose
actually
should
happens?
is it? Whose should is it?
Who
Is
should?
that someone else's should?
Yeah,
Why's
it's
should?
it's your own should. But
Yeah,
when you pull that thread,
yeah.
you're gonna find it attached to some interesting things.
Because it's attached to a fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that fear comes from a place of feeling less relevant.
Yep.
And
Not as
that's when
important.
not as
Yep.
important, not as
Yep.
needed. And again, it's recognizing that your false ego is egotistical.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just like,
Ego.
ew, I'm selfless. I sacrifice myself for other people.
And that's the ego.
Exactly.
That's the
Man,
ego. I'm
this
way
is
too good.
I'm way too good. And it is fascinating work because again, so question posed. I have only ever had these conversations with women who have reached a certain level in their lives and are now questioning whether being at that level and continuing the way that they have is serving them. I have on occasion spoken to let's call it, well, this is going to sound super patronizing, but men who I believe are more emotionally aware, who
Okay.
kind of acknowledge that this kind of thing exists, but they've never put themselves in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And when I observe leaders around me, and I consider how much work I'm putting into, maybe not preventing some of these things, but at least addressing them, confronting them, and trying to unlearn the habits and learn new habits and provide new frameworks and scaffolds for how I want to be. I'm like, these folks are not doing that work.
No.
They're out here comfortably letting their false ego
Basking in the ego.
basking in it, and
Yep.
I'm on my own with this one again, but then also I'm like, yeah, but now that I'm here, I don't want to be like that anymore.
It's like the
You
Matrix.
find yourself almost stepping back and being like, deuces,
Yep.
you got this. I'm going to
You
be at the
got
spa.
this.
I'm going to go get
Yep.
a massage,
It's so
calm
real.
myself down.
It's so real because you start to realize that you don't have to operate in that way to get the results you want.
And this is the key to the knowledge. The outcome is the same.
It's the
Well, I say
same.
the
It's just the
outcome.
journey.
The journey is
Well,
different. But the outcome in terms of what you're trying to achieve can be the
correct.
same. But
Yes.
the outcome in terms of your well-being,
Yes. It's
so different.
Yep.
So different.
A lot of my reports and colleagues now ask, like, oh, have you always had a coach, and what are your thoughts? And I mean, I've had different types of coaches, but never one like the one I have now.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not a thing that everyone can afford to do, right?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
I would think about like, what's that self journey for a person that
Hmm.
has to do it on their own?
Yeah.
And even if you're younger,
So
what
I
is the
think
perspective?
number one, I liken it to, so I consider uh, my utilization of coaches
Mm,
and my utilization of, say, a personal trainer
mm-hmm.
and even therapy to be in the same category of things,
Yes.
right? Is if I believe at some point in my life I would get a personal trainer to supercharge my fitness journey or allow me to hit a new goal or achieve a new kind of like boundary, then I can apply the same to my professional conduct
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not so rolled up in myself to believe that I can always do
Perfect.
it by myself and I'm
Yeah.
perfect. There's always
Yeah.
correction points. And so I am fortunate that I have decided that having a coach is just a thing that must exist for me to operate at this level of performance. So
Mm-hmm.
probably if an athlete invests in a coach, a masseuse, a sports psychologist and a chef in order to
Chef.
be able to
Mm-hmm.
make it to the Olympics, I'm gonna have a coach in order to maintain my performance as a director of a company at this level in this kind of business. Like those two things are actually the same. The
Mm-hmm.
athleticism that I apply to my work is in my brain, and my coach is there to help me with my brain and emotional connection and keep that healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you don't have access to that, I think the same principle exists to how you would train yourself if you couldn't afford a personal trainer today. You would
Mm-hmm.
probably follow some people on TikTok. You would
Yeah.
probably do some research on a plan. You would probably ask ChatGPT to put together a workout schedule for you. You would
Mm-hmm.
still reach out and ask for support or seek out supports. Those supports exist in exactly the same way when it
Yeah.
comes to coaching. There's content out there, there are leadership
Books. There's, yeah.
development
Yeah.
books, there are books that talk about false ego, there are, people on TikTok helping you reconcile and process. Like
Mm-hmm.
every version of this exists out there. And I think it is just as discoverable. The issue is putting yourself in that position where you're even saying, I'm going to go seek it
Yeah. That's step
in the
one.
first place.
That's
Yeah.
step one.
Step one is the hardest step.
Yes. That's the hardest step. And hearing it, right? Because I think there's, especially I can imagine if you're doing it to start on your own and you're like, the false ego has a very strong voice, a very strong
Yes,
opinion.
it does.
And it's almost like your brain's safety mechanism in a
Yeah.
sense. And so it really will take time and you have to be ready to give that time. One thing I was going to add to what you mentioned is before you start the self journey, if you are working, I would ask first to understand what your company's resources are for coaching if you're
Yeah.
working somewhere,
Yeah.
because you might have some benefit, or maybe you could suggest a benefit that covers
Yes.
some, if not all, of your coaching,
Yeah.
because
100%.
you could speak
There,
to a
yeah.
lot of improvements.
There are, I mean, certainly with even there are subscription programs like BetterHelp has
Mm.
coaching elements, and like I've seen
Mm.
some companies
Yeah, Modern
utilizing
Health has
BetterHelp
now too.
and Modern Health, utilizing these subscription programs as a way of saying to employees, hey, you can have X number of hours in a given period of access to support. I think they don't necessarily give you continuity of an individual, but
Right.
again, that's still okay. Like one really good session can help
Yeah.
elevate the way you think about yourself, like how you view your responses, reactions, like what your starting points are, and even that's the beginning of it all. Then you ask more questions.
Yeah. You can also use that to develop a relationship with someone. So if you have that initial coaching conversation, you're like, oh, does the person have a practice on their own?
Yeah, can I follow
Could
up?
do that as well.
Can I follow them on TikTok or whatever? I think there are also, I just have to look it up to confirm the title. We'll put it in the show notes. There are two books for me that I think came at a time in my life where I needed a bit of like a injection of, am I looking at it wrong? Right? The first one came when I was incredibly young, and I actually keep copies of this to give away to people, which is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
What a good book.
Absolutely beautiful book. And in some ways, the simplest, like you could read it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
It's not a hard book to read, it's not long. And I think sometimes people miss the allegory in the story. And I love the fact that the book, here's a tiny spoiler for you, but you still need to read it. The book starts and ends in the same place. But the primary character is a completely different person at the end of the book than they were at the beginning of the book. And they find their treasure where they would never have looked for it, which is exactly where they were in the first place. And that, for so many reasons, there are so many layers in the book, but it's kind of this idea that you need to pause and really reflect on where you are. And sometimes
Slow down.
you're going to slow down and do this really windy journey to come back to where you need to be. And the only difference is your perspective and framing, but nothing else has really changed. So that's one book that I love about. And that, I think, again, it starts to interrogate these assumptions we have about how you're supposed to do things, what your role is, what is expected of you, and how you might unpick that. The other one that I loved is by this author called Eckhart Tolle, and it's called The Power of Now. And he's like this spiritual kind of guide type individual. So some people may struggle with the fact that it feels a little bit airy-fairy, but it's, again, a really simple book. And it talks a lot about kind of grounding in where you are and paying more attention to where you are as a way of connecting inward. So like, if you are spiritually inclined, if you're an individual who has faith, and even you're practicing religion, I think even in those scenarios, a lot of us can fail to stop and observe what is happening and how we are navigating in the now. And this book is like, again, lots of little corrections to help ground you and reframe how you might see a moment. And I think I read The Power of Now as an adult, maybe 10 or 15 years after I'd read The Alchemist for the first time. But both books came to me at a point where I needed to kind of interrupt a set of I must do or I should or I need to. And they came in such a way, they gave me enough pause to be like, hang on a second, let me just reset and correct. And I think that inclination is also why eventually I had been so receptive to coaching when I eventually found coaching and have found it to be like a very meaningful way to literally have someone whose job it is to kind of do that to me on a more regular basis, to kind of be like, let's pause there for a second and look at how you're dealing with that situation. Let's rewind and pay attention to the things that maybe could be different. And I think if you can't afford the coaching, those books, they're not very expensive. You can borrow them from a library, but they are probably a really great start. And there are probably an abundance of books like that where they're simple reads, but the effectiveness is they're really high impact on your mindset and helping you to reframe how you show up. What about you? Do you have any books like that or guides or things like that that have just impacted the way that you see these things and you as you were coming up?
I think for me, honestly, it's just been experience and having those forced moments of pause where I'm like, like, what am I doing with my life? Am I taking the right paths? And I think you kind of start to say, okay, like even when you were driving and you realize that, or they let you know that you failed and you have like those like life fail moments. And you're like, wait a minute.
Me?
What's going on? I need some feedback here. Oh, hopefully you ask for feedback, but I know professionally, like I have those from time to time and you're kind of like, Like I could use an extra ear to kind of work through
Yes.
this with me. And in those conversations, I've been humbled or I've been, I've learned some interesting things about myself. And I think the things that have really stuck with me are how closely tied your childhood is to adulthood. And that sounds like really ridiculous to say, but life, like childhood experiences, can really to this day dictate your response to things. And like little me is still very much alive and well, and oftentimes like trying to like either protect
Yeah.
herself or like stand up.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to have the awareness that you think you're randomly doing things, but you're not
You're
at
really
all.
not. And
No.
those, what is it, 13 to 15 formative years that you have become such a, like, almost treacle thick foundation for like the 70 years you might spend as an adult living life trying to like tangle yourself
But you may
from
not
all
be
of these.
untangling. Some people may not ever
You may not
untangle.
be.
Just
So
maybe like
it's
adding.
just in it. So I know through therapy and coaching that my need to center my false ego, my need to be important, my need to obsessively sacrifice for other people is 100% middle child syndrome. And I am disgusted to use the words because I'm like, the oldest was the oldest and the
I'm the
youngest has
oldest.
this,
Hold your
and I
tongue.
wasn't the boy. And so I was just in the middle and no one cared. So I had to make myself important. And I'm like, God, that's so just, it's so predictable, so trite. But it is the thing. It is the thing that drives and underpins it. And every time I stop paying attention, I fall back into classic middle child behavior. It's like, look at me, look at all the things I'm doing. Look, I'm breaking because I'm sacrificing myself so much. Why don't you people notice how much I'm breaking for you? Come and save me from breaking myself for you, but also don't touch it because I'm in control and I need to do
I'm
it
in
because I'm breaking
control.
myself for you. It's like, kid, let go. It's okay.
It's hard.
You have your own family now. You earned your right to be where you are. It's okay. Chill, kid.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Yeah.
do this anymore. And I'm like, the internal tussle with that middle child is,
It's there.
it's
It's
there.
there. And oftentimes people don't realize they're tussling.
This is the key. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize they're
It's,
tussling.
yeah. So it's just like, I think I'll use the word weight, but I can't think of a better word right now. But the weight of untangle is heavy.
Yes.
But the freedom on the other side, and I say freedom loosely because sometimes like the awareness can be something in itself. Like sometimes, like I said, I've been like, me and false ego have been talking. Like, truly, like I feel less obligated to do a lot of the things, but that doesn't mean that my like reaction isn't to do the thing. Like it is the,
100%.
oh, I should.
Yeah.
Okay, let me
There's that
pause.
word
Oh,
again.
but if I pause, then I'm gonna miss it, and I have to do it. And it's like, well, no, you don't actually have to do it. It's okay, and go back and forth. And it is like really letting it go. It takes work. It takes work.
And I think it's also, this is where like things like cognitive behavioral therapy helps, where it's like when you feel yourself in the world of shoulds interrupt with a new okay, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna squeeze this ball for a bit, or I'm gonna recite something meaningful to myself, or I'm gonna pause from the screen and
Have my little thing. And I'm just like,
you're gonna create a physical step ladder out of that emotion.
yeah,
So that your brain can slow down enough to rewire itself out of that habit.
yes,
And again, this stuff is hard. Do you know
That
what I'm
part.
reflecting on as we're talking though? Is again, there's the work that goes on internally. People don't know, people don't see it. But
Mm-hmm.
then there are people you see that you're like, they're not doing the work, and
Uh-huh.
it's loud. It's loud
Uh-huh.
that you're
Mm-hmm.
not doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's loud that your false ego is in charge of us right now, and
Mm-hmm.
that is scaring me because it's very evidently your false
Your
ego,
mm-hmm.
not anything that any of the rest of us should be partaking in or be party to in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also scary is when you can see almost like the driver of the car is living in false ego and you're like, I want to get out. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be in this
So
car.
what's interesting is I found that when I reflect back in my career, there were certain expectations of how I expected myself to be in meetings, to show up at like my presence, you know.
Yeah.
I felt I needed to be a certain type of
Yes.
personality, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was seeing. And I remember I would talk to coaches and I'd be like, I want to have a stronger presence and I want to have, I forgot like certain type of voice. Like I wanted to be like what I was seeing. And as I've done my work, I realized that a lot of what I was trying to be was in the false ego. Like I wanted my false ego
Yeah.
to match the others, right? I wanted
Yeah.
to be the loudest voice in the room and like, go toe to toe and whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not me. Like that's
No.
just not how I am. Like I don't operate in that way. And I don't think it's like the most productive way to get to a solution. I'm going to get to a solution, but I promise you, I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to cut you off. I'm not going to like,
Yeah.
verbally
Overtalk
push you
you.
over.
Yeah.
No, like we'll get there, but I'm going to do so
Yeah.
strategically. But I had thought that in the way that I was approaching it, it wasn't good enough. Right.
Yeah.
And so I was
No.
trying so hard. And I remember talking to a coach and they were just like, but why do you think you need to be like that to be successful? I'm like, but they're successful. And I want like,
Yeah.
why aren't you successful? I'm like, but they're more successful. Okay, what makes them more successful? I'm like, well, I
And then you're like, gotcha.
I was like, whatever, man. It's like
Leave
so
me
many of
alone.
those moments where I'm like, mm-hmm. And she's like, there's like, oh, it's okay. I'm like, sit in
Do
that.
you?
Like, sit in that for a second.
But so this, but this is also the struggle. It's almost like this sadistic thing that we put ourselves through because the way you will be humbled in these sessions sometimes,
Humbled.
and you're there like, no, I know what I'm saying, I know what I'm talking about. No, you don't understand it. Let me explain it to you. And you get to the end of your explanation, and you're like,
And you're
I,
just talking. You talk yourself into your own answer. And you're just kind of like,
oh,
and the coach will look at you like, keep going. I'm listening. What
yeah.
don't I understand?
Yeah, which part of that is that good to you? Well, that's not what I'm saying, but and I'll be there like, huh, God damn it. And
How many?
sometimes they didn't even have to say much. They just
No,
had to position
exactly, because you're
you and then suddenly
talking.
you end up there and you're like, what? And I feel so
You know,
stupid.
I think like have the privilege of being like further along in our careers. So
Yeah.
I caveat with that. But the thing I've learned is to not take myself so seriously. You know,
100%.
you know,
100%.
in the beginning
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I have to
Yeah.
be this and I have to show up as this and I have to talk like this. And I don't. I don't. Like
You
I
don't.
myself, I lead as I lead. I respect people. My people respect
Yeah.
me. I care about my people. Hopefully my people care about me. I lead the way I would want to be led.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like life,
Yeah.
just flow through life. Like, I don't know. I think we
Yeah.
try to make things a bit too hard. Again, that's a false ego, feeling self-importance and all
Yeah.
the things. There's so many things in that. And I think ooh, I don't know what it was, but like the last couple episodes we talked about managers doing the work and like
Yeah.
what that means. And this is one of those things, right? I think you really have to know yourself
Yes.
to be a good manager because there's
Yeah.
a way that you are likely coming off, whether you're aware or not aware. Hopefully
Yeah.
you're aware, but if you're not
Yeah.
aware, that means that probably something else is pushing and driving you, and how you have no idea how that's coming off to people around you.
No.
And that should be something we all tap into.
Well, and I think also like we routinely talk about the importance of being humane and human and really approaching leadership and management like it's a people business, and so you have to see the person and all that. And at the same time, we don't see ourselves. We are, we're not, part of that work is the compassion you're supposed to have for yourself to say, like, I am a person. I can be silly. I can have a bad day or a good day. I might be
And I
taking
can say
myself
it.
too seriously, and I can see it. And you know what? Let me just correct myself. And
Yeah.
maybe sometimes I'll acknowledge it publicly. Sometimes I'll acknowledge it privately. But it's still a permission to human that you give
Yes.
yourself, which then feeds your ability to human with the people you
Of course.
manage. And in return, you kind of allow yourself to kind of grow in a way that I think is more sustainable ultimately. And this,
Agree.
we talk about people breaking, we bend, right? And, we're reflecting on I'm failing tests, or colleagues are telling me that I came across a little bit fighty. And I'm like, oh, quick correction. That's okay. It's not catastrophic. It's not the end of the world. None of those
Right.
things is like an indictment on my character, besmirch me. It could be though if I wasn't doing this work where I
Oh
was
yeah.
compassionate with
Could you
myself or
imagine? Someone
aware
gave
of my
you.
false ego. Dude, it's like, and in the moment, it can feel hard. Like when I failed the test, someone
Sure.
said to me, I'm like, do you know who my father is? Like, are you telling me? I failed the test. Like, what do you mean? I've been driving for 20. But all of that aside, like it is a bend, it's a reflex, it's protection for your soul to make sure that you don't stay in this incredibly fragile place
Yeah.
where small things have the ability to break you. And
Yeah.
we see those people, and we all experience those people sometimes. And again, we
Yes, we do.
see their fragility right in front of us. This version of me, who is regularly humbled, is a much stronger version than the
Yes.
version of me that is continually thinking that sacrificial lamb, most important person, carry all the load, is my contribution to the world. That person is inherently 10 times more fragile and at bigger
Yeah.
risk to my loved ones
Yep.
than this person who is on the path of humility. And they're not quite there, but on
Not
that
quite
path
there.
in a very self-aware way. And I think if we can give that, wisdom of our age and wisdom of our professional experiences, it's not just in your personal life that applies. It
Yeah.
applies at work too. It improves your judgment when you look at situations, and it protects you from false urgency and fake mandates and like things that ultimately make it harder for you to succeed in the workplace. That humility work and distancing from the false ego will save you years of
Yeah.
gray hair and stress, without question. I wish I'd gotten it earlier. But got rid of some of
I
these.
wish. I wish. I mean, here we are, right?
Yeah, we are.
I think that everything happens in the right time. I just encourage people who especially are earlier in their careers, as you were saying, even if you can't do the coaching, find some way to tap in. It'll save you. It'll save you a lot.
Yeah, it will.
A lot. I think the decisions you'll be able to make for yourself will be very different had you not invested that time and effort.
100%.
Even if you tap into like what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Like what actually makes you happy.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Well,
Wow.
here we are.
That was
All from
what
a driver's
we,
test.
all because I failed a test and I'm not going to fail the test again tomorrow.
No.
Next time we're recording, I'm going to tell you that I didn't fail the test.
Yeah, you passed.
I'm manifesting that
Yes,
outcome
a pass.
from a
Yes.
place where my false ego is not present, and I have humbled myself and I have learned new things and
Yes.
put the survival
Apply.
habits to the side and
There
let
you
go
go.
just for a bit. So
There you go. I
is the
like it.
allegory for today's podcast. We've made this show for you, and we want to hear your stories. We have our combined 35 years experience in tech. We have an incredible bank of experts to call on. We are your safe space. So send us your tech challenges and we'll help you create some draft decisions through some real talk.
You've been listening to me, Mamuna Oladipo.
And me, Oyelayo-Pearson.
Edited and produced by me, Michael Bussa, with theme music by 031 Mash.
Email us at help@lostintechpodcast.com or DM us at lostintechpod.